We wanted to reflect on a very, very sad bit of news that has broken in the football world over the last couple of days. George Baldock, who spent 7 years playing for Sheffield United, died on Wednesday night at his home in Athens. The 31-year-old who was Greek international and had 12 caps for them, joining Sheffield United in 2017. He made 219 appearances in all competitions for the club, helping them to promotion to the Premier League in 2019 and again in 2023. And our thoughts and condolences go to his family, friends and teammates, of course, some of whom played against England tonight. And obviously we saw the minute silence before the game. We saw the celebration of the goal where the armband was held in front of the Greek supporters. A real tragedy. 31 years old. I mean, so sad, chaps.
What a huge shock it was, wasn't it? When the news came through last evening, it was crikey. For someone so young to have lost his life. Yeah, I mean, as you said, Gary, we're thinking about his family and his friends, which must be an impossible time for them.
Devastating, isn't it? Devastating news. Someone who was only 31 as well. Alan said he was so young. Yeah. You know, condolences to the family and friends, and it's a sad day for everyone connected with him, really.
Well, I think the Greece team, they put on a performance that I think George would have been proud of. There's no question about that. So before we talk about how England performed, a word on Greece. It's the first time they've ever beaten England. It's their first win against, let's say in inverted commas, a big national team. The first time they've beaten them probably since when they won the Euros, of course, in 2004 in Portugal. They played really well. They had a good go. They defended really well. They were dangerous on the counter-attack. Whatever you say about England.
Gary, they did it incredibly well. He'd get out into the pitch under the circumstances because mentally it must have been so difficult for them. But having said that, they put in an incredible performance there. The fight, the skill, the defensive work, the know-how, and they got the goals and they got the performance, they got the win that they deserved. I thought they were absolutely tremendous from the very first whistle, albeit England were dreadful.
They actually asked for the game, of course, to be postponed because of what happened. But UEFA said no because they wouldn't be able to reschedule it at the right time. So I think they did the next best thing and just got out there and performed really, really impressively.
Yeah, they did. Alan's mentioned it there. I think they just looked really well organised. I think in international football sometimes the pace is a little bit slower. They sort of played in a low block and then they really went on that counter-attack with numbers forward, really good slick passing, and then, you know, they had multiple goals disallowed, just offside or timing was just off. Colwell say one off the line early doors, but I was really impressed. You know, I think sometimes when we're pundits or we admirers of football, we almost just, because the players that we have, we just expect us to turn up and beat Greece. But you actually look at some of the players and they're a team. And I think that was the difference tonight. They all knew their roles. And yeah, they were fabulous. They really were.
Certainly defensively, England appeared all over the place. He played, you know, when I saw it, I thought it was quite imaginative. And I thought in the first half there were a lot of things to enjoy, even though they did obviously look vulnerable to the counter-attack. I don't mind that because I think, you know, you can take risks and you can go for it. And if Cole Palmer sticks that one in, that 9 times out of 10 he would have done, things might have been different for England, that is, in terms of the way they played. So second half I thought was really disappointing from an England perspective, in particular. And defensively, blimey, there's a lot to work on there, isn't there?
I don't mind a new manager coming in and trying things. Fine.
Same.
You have to do that. You have to try and do it your way. But clearly it didn't work. And I was surprised it sort of lasted as long as it did. I'd have changed something at half time. We got the WhatsApp chat and I was saying, centre forward's the most important position on the pitch. We always say if you've got a centre forward, then you've got a chance. So, okay, he didn't put one in. He tried something different, but it didn't work.
But hugely successful managers have played without centre forwards, Alan, including Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, I get that and I understand that, but you have to have the players to do that.
So, and it was a way of trying to get all those players in, wasn't it? Well, you've got those players that you would think can do it.
You got all the players in, but you left yourself so open at the back because of that. I mean, defensively, bearing in mind it's Greece we're playing, and we're playing them at Wembley. And I know you mentioned we had 2 chances in the first half. We had the Palmer chance and we had the Gordon chance. Don't forget how many chances Greece had.
They had a couple, yeah.
That would be the bigger concern for me. But yeah, it didn't work. It was an awful performance. They looked as if they were going to get a little bit out of jail when they got the equaliser, but Greece went on and they got the winner, and the winner they deserved, and it was a huge shock because no one expected that.
No.
Yeah, I didn't mind the not having a number 9 for that long, Al. I know exactly what you mean, but I think it was so tight in there at times. I know why they was trying to be a little bit more creative and sort of have midfielders and then draw them out. More concerning for me, we talked to Jolie Lescott about the role of Cole Palmer, and sometimes he played in the number 6 role. I think it worked in terms of when he got on the ball, he was the one who looked for that pass. Yeah, you've got to remember, and I'm looking at it from a defensive point of view, if you lose the ball in the centre of midfield, you've only really got Declan Rice there to cover. So on the ball, it's very good. Off the ball, it was too open. And we're talking about Greece, no disrespect. If that would have been a France or a Germany or a Spain, we really could have got embarrassed tonight. I agree with both of you. I don't mind the manager trying new things, but the manager's being judged, isn't he, on what he's done tonight, and that is the problem.
You'd be absolutely raging, wouldn't you, if you're Ollie Watkins?
Yeah.
Your main man or your main centre forward is injured, and you've been crying out for an opportunity. And when you've come on, you've actually done all right in terms of Watkins, and he's doing well at club level. Yet when Kane's out, the manager comes to you and says, "Oh, well, I'm not going to play you tonight at home against Greece. I'm going to try something different." And he's got every right to be. He should be going knocking on his door tonight or tomorrow to say, I have to play the next game.
And he will.
If Kane's not fit.
I'm not sure it works like international level. Do you ever knock on the England manager's door and go, I should be playing in this game? It's not like club football, is it?
I knocked on Graham Taylor's door when I was, 19 or 20.
Did you? Get Lineker out. Is that what you said?
I just wanted to know whether I was going to be in the squad or not. I don't think it does any harm. You're just asking the question. You don't have to be aggressive in the way you do it, but because the result's gone against them tonight and it's backfired what the manager's done, I think you've got every right to go and have a chat with him.
I think the question for us, if Watkins starts next game, who comes out?
But there's the dilemma, isn't it? That's why I put on the group text that we had beforehand. Gerrard, Scholes, Lampard. You've got a similar thing. You've got these brilliant, amazing players. And you're thinking, how are we going to get them all into the team? Well, sometimes all of them don't work. Sometimes you have to make big decisions and maybe leave one out or two out.
What are you laughing at, Gaz?
Well,
you keep smirking.
Because Harry keeps telling me I've got a bit of parsley in my teeth, right, Micah? I cooked the carbonara tonight, which I have to say was pretty damn tasty, and I did garlic bread and all that kind of stuff. But I've got parsley in my teeth, and he keeps saying, I'm saying, is it clear? No, it's not. So I'm scratching again. So if I talk like this for the rest of the show, because obviously it's on YouTube as well.
I thought you was putting your teeth in.
Well, I do that nowadays as well. I'm that old. It's gone. Apparently, it's gone. So anyway, from Carsley to Parsley. So apologies for that. A slight distraction. I don't mind him doing a little bit. I feel for him because he's obviously. If he was in the role permanently, and he tried that, you'd go, that's all right, because this is. Let's be realistic. It's a friendly. It's a glorified friendly. It's not a World Cup qualifier. Okay,
It's not one for him. It's not a friendly for him though, Gaz. His career's on the line, isn't it?
That's my point. If he got the permanent role, I would say that's fine. I actually admire him to have the balls, the cojones, to actually try something like that when you're actually trying to get the job, because that is brave and that is bold. I admire that. And do you know what? I'd sooner see that than as sitting deep like we did in the summer against teams of equal kind of, actually not as good as Greece probably, some of them, and just sitting there and trying to get a counter-attack and stuff. I just thought a lot of the players were slightly off their game tonight. I thought Gordon struggled. I thought Saka was well below par, and he injured, hopefully nothing too serious. I thought that also Cole Palmer was nothing like as good as he has been. Phil Foden was relatively quiet. I thought Bellingham was our best player. I thought he was putting himself about. He got in good positions. He created that chance for Cole Palmer. He scored a really good goal. He was by far our best player. But overall, I thought the individual performances weren't great. Now that might come from the fact that they're playing a formation that was so it was so relaxed and open and movement, and the first 15 minutes of the game I was going, what is this? I didn't know what the system was. I just thought they're all playing everywhere, and I quite admired his bravery for doing that, but sadly for him it hasn't worked. And if it doesn't work now, he needs a big performance in the week in Finland, because at the moment the people that make these decisions will be going, and you know what everything's like. It's, if you're winning it, everything's marvellous. After the first two games, everything's brilliant. One defeat in a game like this, and all of a sudden people start to question you.
We can't judge him off this one game, though.
I agree, but I'm just telling you how it works. I admired his bravery. I don't mind. Does this game make any difference looking ahead to a World Cup in a year and a half's time? No, it doesn't. He's tried something. It didn't quite work. In the next game, I guarantee he'll play a number 9 and he'll leave one of them out. It might be picked for him because Saka's injured. So we'll see what happens. I hope, but I don't mind him being ballsy. I will always applaud managers that have a go, and I like that.
Yeah, I don't. Look, he has to try something and he has to try and put his own style onto this team. Clearly, it didn't work. The unfortunate thing for him is he hasn't got long, so he can't afford too many errors. And whether you think it was an error tonight or whatever, it just didn't work tonight. And because he's only got 6 games, and because of the standard of the opposition, then he can't afford errors like that.
I think the fans and the media will respect him more if he tries to play the same way. Maybe a little tweak, maybe play with a striker, like you said, Alan, because if we play our normal conservative way, we beat Greece, don't we? And that's not disrespecting Greece in any way. It's just we've got better players than them. They didn't turn up on the night and they took it to Greece. They got opened up at times, but at least they were brave. And I'm with Gary on that. I don't mind managers who are brave, especially in a game like today. I just hope against Finland he really he goes for it again. Yeah. But then they get a few goals, get the confidence. And let's be honest, Pickford, who I love Pickford, but at the back, he had
an awful game.
When the ball come back to him, he's like nervous wreck.
That set the tone, didn't it? Those mistakes in the first few minutes set the tone, didn't it?
Yeah.
I was like, come on, Pickford. I'm your biggest fan, but calm down, please.
Yeah, it's easy to be critical of the back four as well, but there was kind of no protection as well to the counter-attack, and they were bold with their counter-attacks. He's obviously not played Mark Gay alongside John Stones. That was such a good partnership in the summer, and switched that. But I felt for them a little bit at the back because they were open to the counter-attack. But I actually don't mind that. You see it's like watching Tottenham. I enjoy watching Tottenham because that's the kind of football I like. I want to watch entertaining football. I don't want to watch turgid football with the ball being passed around in the final third of your own team. I want to see attacking football. So I'm not going to go in too deeply at the moment. I thought it was bold. I thought it was imaginative. But it backfired on him tonight, and I hope in the future it doesn't. Disappointing night for England. Great night for Greece. We were talking about the lack of a centre forward, and obviously managers have experimented with false nines many times. So I think one thing will happen. There'll be a 9 that plays against Finland. Who would you leave out for that number 9? And I presume you'd put Ollie Watkins in, but who would you?
Yeah, I think. If Kane's fit, then
if Kane's fit,
play him. If he's not, then Ollie Watkins. But also Saka's gone off with an injury tonight. I mean, you said it before; it might be made for him. Gordon had a poor game, as did a few. I
wonder what Gareth Southgate thought watching that game. I think because of everyone was going with Gordon's got to play on the left for England, give him a better balance and stuff in the Euros. But I mean, it's a totally different style of football. It is. I
think what didn't help Saka and Gordon is a lot of the times when they get the ball, they go at their wingers. But I was thinking, go on, then get at them. But then I thought, well, if you do, you've got no one to actually put it in there in the box too anyway, because there's no forward in there. And that is not defending either of them, because I don't think either of them had a good game. But that there was definitely a problem in that area.
Yeah, the goals were going to come from a third man run, weren't they, Al? There was times where you think you're looking up, the pass is on to go forward, and there's just no run, and then it all just became a little bit too.
Bellingham made the odd run forward. Yeah. Gordon made the odd run forward because he had the chance with the header, that fantastic pass from Trent Alexander-Arnold. That great bit of play from Bellingham that when he cut it back and Cole Palmer missed. But generally, there was, when you've got so much talent they're all kind of play in the same area. So I think. I absolutely guarantee you there'll be a centre forward playing on. Yeah.
I would go along with that.
Yeah, I mean, if Harry Kane's fit, he plays anyway, and Harry Kane would have played obviously tonight if he were fit, and I suspect it would have been a different outcome, because I think in a side that plays like that, I think it'll work really well for Harry Kane, because you get so many players forward and so many bodies around midfield, and he can drop deep, but players can then run past him as well. But at the same time, to like your point, Alan, is that when they do get in the wide areas and cross the ball, Harry Kane will get in there with.
Well, a lot of the time they were coming inside because there was no option to go. The option actually going past the defender wasn't on, or it might have been on, but there was actually no point because there's no one in the middle. So a lot of the time they got the ball, both of them came inside, which then suited Greece because that's where the bodies were, that's where the traffic was.
I thought Madueke looked lively when he came on.
Yeah, he looked sharp, didn't
well.
he?
Started the season well, hasn't he? Could play both sides, can't he? Really cultured left.
He's one of those players that can go past people, and that's quite important. There are not that many players that can do that with his kind of pace.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But the only thing is, the game's opened up in the second half when you come on.
Yeah, of course.
It looks a little bit easier, doesn't it? But he started well for Chelsea. But I take your point about him dribbling.
What would you do at the back, Micah?
John Stones is a ball-playing centre-half, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's a great player.
He's a top player. He needs someone who's more of a defender. I think he really works with him. We've not really talked about the fullbacks, Trent and Rico Lewis. I think Rico Lewis was playing really well with them intricate passes in midfield. But they both want to do the same thing. So Rico Lewis wants to come into midfield, and so does Trent as well, and it's sort of overloaded in the midfield, but they both want to do stuff on the ball, not off the ball. So like, even just being alert to a counter-attack, they're not, if you're going to be in there, you've got to make sure you're ready for that counter-attack. And we know Trent is not the best at defending, but he can defend from the middle without having to be squared up one-on-one on the wings. I just think it's a process for them learning.
We were so open, weren't we, when we lost the ball? I mean, you could see that they were so in forward positions that it was like, oh my goodness. And Greece did really well in exploiting that because they knew that was going to be a weakness if England were going to play that way. Because you're right, Trent wants to get in there, Lewis wants to get in there. And then when they get the ball, they just got no protection at all, the two centre-halves, had they?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, you're basically leaving just two at the back, aren't you, a lot of the time?
Yeah, you are.
And that's difficult for both Stones and Colwell, who's been very good for Chelsea this season. Mark Gay's probably more of a kind of defender, yeah, if you know what I mean. Proper centre half in many ways.
Yeah, he hasn't had a good start to the season though. That's the only problem, isn't it? Whether the transfer speculation has affected him mentally or not, but he hasn't had a great start to the season with Palace. No,
Palace have struggled a little bit at the start of this season, haven't they? I mean, he had all the speculation, didn't he, about joining your mob?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It might have
affected. I doubt. I don't know. Yeah. The games I've seen him, he's played really well, but I do accept that apparently in a couple of games he's not been quite at his best. But it's a big test for Lee Carsley. In many ways, if England which they obviously will do, consider Lee Carsley for this role, this is a real test. And it's a good chance for them to find out what he's made of when things are not going well. Obviously, his massive success at the under-21 level. And he's come in and it started really well. Obviously, England have dropped down a category, so they're not playing against, the great teams in Europe at the moment, with all due respect. So the fact that they've lost this one, it's now a test of how he changes things, how he adapts, what he does. So we'll find out a little bit more because he's to us, he's largely unknown in many ways. We know we've seen him do it on the 21 levels, but that's different. Do you need a manager that's been tried and trusted? Well, not if you look at Argentina, not if you look at Spain. The two teams that won the last major tournaments have had managers that have just come in from basically nowhere, a little bit like Lee Carsley, and have come through the ranks. So it'll be fascinating to see how he handles it, how he handles the post-match interviews, the press in the next few days, because it'll be pretty volatile, won't it?
Yeah, that's the life. We know that that's what happens when you play for England. You get a poor result and a poor performance, as they have done this evening. You know what's going to happen over the next few days. But the good thing for them is that they've got 3 days to sit on that. Then the next game, they've got a chance to put it right quickly, and they've got to do that. So, and it's an opportunity for him and the rest of the players. I'm sure he'll change personnel. How many changes we don't know, but there'll be a few, I suspect. But you're right. I think it's a good test, and he's got an opportunity now to say, okay, well, yep, we messed up. It didn't go as well. We've got a chance to try and put it right in 3 days' time.
I think the question is what are England trying to be? Are they going to be a possession team? Are they going to get it out to the wingers team? Are they going to play with strikers who like to stretch the opposition? I think when you have the players of Cole Palmer, Foden, etc., Bellingham, etc., Trent coming in from fullback inside, Rico Lewis being introduced into the squad, there's nothing wrong with just taking that extra pass. I always feel like when I'm watching England, because of, I don't know if it's subconsciously, and you're at home, you want to entertain the crowd, you want to get the ball forward as quick as possible. But when someone's in a low block, it doesn't, if that was Spain tonight, they would say, okay, no problem. It's almost like we all commit. And we've got a defensive midfielder in Rice who's supposed to be just holding the fort in the midfield. And at times, he's getting involved in things where, say, a Rodri would just be more disciplined. And if we're going to be a
we haven't got that player, have we, Mike? I would you with that Angel Gomez that played so well, didn't he, in the last game or two?
Correct.
We haven't got a natural. I've actually had a conversation with Russell Martin, the Southampton manager, and he said the problem with this country, we don't produce that kind of player, a Busquets, a Rodri, that kind of Xavi Alonso, the player that, they absolutely know that role. Now, Rice has played it a bit for Arsenal, but he's really an 8, isn't he? Or a 6, he likes to get forward and he runs around, and he's not that pivot. We haven't really got a natural there. I wonder whether Gomez might be that.
But you need one, Gary. That's the point. If you're going to play that way, you need a pivot. It's so important to have that player you can just bounce off and they don't have to get involved. They just get involved at the right time. You see Rodri, he gets involved at the right times, because when you've got them players in front of you, you don't need to be involved in that, and that's just something that they will learn going forward.
I mean, Adam Wharton looked, last season, he's probably not started the season brilliantly because, his team are not going that well. But it'd be interesting to see if England can produce that kind of player, because I think that would transform things.
I agree.
Yeah.
Just give us the control we need.
Yeah. Well, let's hope Lee Carsley turns it around. Let's hope things go well in their next game. And I'm off to floss my teeth.
So long as your carbonara was nice, that's all that matters.
Bloody good, Alan. Of course it was. One of your favourite dishes, Alan. I'll have to do it for you sometime.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
All right,
Love it.
We'll call it a day and hope for better things on Sunday. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.